Well, hello and welcome to Grenchen in Switzerland for Red Bull Race Day 2019. I'm Neil Cole, this is Mike Chen, and we have assembled some of the world's finest athletes and vehicles from the worlds of aviation and motorsport. Chenny, what kind of delights await the viewers at home today?
So much to look forward to today, Neil. Up in the air, we've got the P38 Lightning. There's only one of those flying in Europe. I cannot wait to see that. We've got air race planes, we've got a DC-3 with a range of Beech 18s flying around. It's a beautiful classic formation in the skies. Down on the ground, we've got the Drift Brothers to look forward to, and we got to know those a little bit yesterday. Obviously, we've got lots of stuff on two wheels, a bit of freestyle motocross, and of course, it couldn't be an event without a Formula One car. So there's honestly so much to look forward to. It's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, it's an amazing array of vehicles in that paddock, on the ground and in the air, and the conditions are beautiful. There's nothing but blue skies, perfect for the over 20,000 fans who have gathered here in Switzerland. A great day out for families and also the perfect playground for any motorsport fan.
Yeah, it's a little bit windy, isn't it? But it doesn't seem to be causing too much of an issue. But at the end of the day, it's a beautiful day, as you said. Loads of people. I mean, I cannot believe the crowd here. It's incredible. And we've got a runway at our disposal. What more could you want?
That runway has already got a lot new tyre marks on it that it didn't have yesterday. So we actually, I'm going to be roaming around here, speaking to people down on the airfield. Mike's going to be up in commentary. But to earn our stripes here today, we needed a little help from our new friends.
What's up, everybody? The Red Bull Drift Brothers here, Joe and Eli, and we got Neil and
Mike. Hello.
With us here in Grenchen at the Red Bull Race Day, and we're about to find out what those guys are all about with the drifting, actually.
First of all, Mike, wow, amazing.
Unbelievable. You got out of the car and you went, dude, life goals. And I was like, yes. Ellie was like, he was down here in fourth gear. He just tipped it in fourth. I don't know what speed we were doing. We just nipped the clutch. And it was unbelievable. Amazing. I loved it.
You've already done more homework watching him than I did. I was just going, I'm enjoying the ride. But now we have to compete. It gets serious now. Me and Mike have 3 runs each to do this. And these guys will be giving us points. And the first one of us to score 2 points is going to win. So there you go, gents. Thank you very much. So let's get an assessment from the judges. I've got no idea who won, but let's see who won.
Yes, I'm sorry, but Mike did a great job. Yeah.
Is that unanimous?
Yeah, it is, but actually, great job from both of you guys. You really picked it up quite quick.
Thank you very much. Well, it looks like you've got a new drift brother. Meanwhile, I'm going to get some more practice.
Do it. Have fun. This is why you lost, wasn't it? On purpose, so you get to have another go. Well played.
That was so much fun, but do you know what? I had a suspicion you'd be a lot better than me because you are actually a racing driver.
Well, loosely. I did a lot of karting when I was younger and still racing kind of sports prototypes. So, but I think you're doing yourself a disservice because it is a really difficult thing to get the feel of. But for me, despite us getting to have a go, what was actually the most incredible part of yesterday was actually going out with the Drift Brothers and being in the car, and what they do is incredible. How close it is, the skill involved, the throttle control, it was absolutely mind-blowing. Brilliant thing to do.
what an experience, and yeah, massive kudos to them, because I don't know how they do it. We will be catching up with the Drift Brothers again later, and you'll see them doing their demos out there on the airfield. Well, Chenny, I think it's time for you to get into your hot commentary box. I'm going to be out roaming around there. Everything else is coming up right after this.
Welcome to Red Bull Race Day. Thank you for joining us if you are watching on YouTube or Facebook. As you can see, coming up, Freestyle Motocross show led by the legend Matt Rabot. He's going to be joined by Julian van Stippen and Niels Velema. There's so much to look forward to today here in Grenchen. And of course, I will be joined throughout today's program by another legend, Neil Yarni, a man who's pretty much driven every single race car there is possible to drive. And of course, Raymond Riemann will be with me as well in the commentary box, talking us through the aerial displays. As you can see, lots coming up today, including we will see the P38 Lightning, the only one that's flying in Europe. And it will be a real privilege to see that in the sky. So make sure you join us throughout all of the action in today's Red Bull Race Day.
Well, it's okay like that. Otherwise we go like that. I just keep...
Hello and welcome to Red Bull Race Day on Red Bull TV. What an event this is going to be today. We are in Grenchen in Switzerland, and I'm joined in the commentary box by Neil Yarni, a man who has driven pretty much every single race car possible. Won Le Mans in 2016 with Porsche and has played pivotal roles in race car development with various Formula One teams. So Neil, it's great to have you here in the commentary box.
Thank you for welcoming me.
So we are watching Freestyle Motocross show that's got underway, led by the legend Matt Rabot. I believe Matt, Neil, is actually riding the Alta electric bike, and that's kind of the way the sport's going at the moment. Everything's sort of going electric. Here's Matt now.
Yeah, it's everywhere going direction electric, but I think we all love the sound still.
Yeah, of course.
We all like the screaming V8, V10 engines or but the bikes. But nevertheless, yeah, I mean, these guys, they're crazy. You think that going quick is something, but I think what they do, yeah, needs some skill.
Absolutely, it is unbelievable what these freestyle motocross guys do. Here's Matt Rabot. Look at that, massive from him. And again, a Swiss legend. You know, we've seen, as we were saying, the electric bikes coming on so much in recent years, in particular with Alta. In fact, one of the Alta bikes was actually riding at the Red Bull Hare Scramble, the Erzberg Rodeo, last year for sure, and I believe there was one there this year as well. Nicknamed Air Matt for that very reason. Yeah. Unbelievable, massive backflip from him.
I actually saw how they trained those, or they also Matt explained it to me. They have like an area, like in the forest, with a jump, and at the back they have a huge bucket with foam inside, so they can land and yeah, not hurt themselves before they go on the real things.
Yeah. And
it needs some skill to train that, I think, you know, just to get the idea to try and do a 360 backflip.
Yeah,
with a bike.
It really is quite incredible. And we're seeing the sport growing. You know, boundaries are constantly being pushed. You know, Josh Sheehan with the double backflip. And, you know, again, we're seeing Matt Rabot here. And just on the front wheel, cheeky little endo. Here's Julian van Stippen.
You know, it always also looks so easy, but a lot of people forget how much training goes into it, especially also coordination training for your body. You know, it's not just driving the bike, but it's having the balance, training the balance, core stability. It's just, yeah, it's professional sports people.
Absolutely.
To actually control this with your body and keep the...
You have to be supremely
Yeah.
mentally and physically fit to do this, particularly, as you say, core. You know, when you're upside down, you have to be able to pull yourself back onto the bike. Matt G in the crowd up there. And Julian Van Stippen getting involved as well. Hell of a show from those guys, and appreciated by all the fans here as well. Neil, I know you arrived early and you've had a little wander around. It's amazing how many people there are here. It's incredible and great to see so many people turning up to appreciate, you know, our sport.
Oh, definitely. I think it shows, you know, we're all talking about sustainability, which is for sure important. And very important even, but you know, there needs to be still the fun and show fun somewhere around, and I think it's a little bit the mix that we need to find, and this shows people do love noise, smoke, bikes, planes, just
Well,
the good old school stuff.
Absolutely, and there's going to be plenty of bikes and smoke and, as you said, old school and new school planes as well. Again, massive from Rabot. Winner 2008 Red Bull X Fighters. Winner 2008 Red Bull X Fighters Germany. The list just goes on and on. 2005 was his first big win, Night of the Jumps. And that was a long, long time ago. But Matt Rabot has just, as we said, he's just continued to push the boundaries, push the limits. And he's someone you know well as well, Neil. He's a good guy, and you know, and in the sport of freestyle motocross, you know, has helped so many young riders get involved as well. Niels Verlemmer, he's up and coming, and you know, Matt has given those people so much time and helped progress them in their career too.
So I think they're preparing a little combo.
Something big's happening.
Yeah, there's a combo coming.
It's strange, isn't it? You can't hear any sound from that electric bike, but it is the future. And you know, the Alta guys, you know, we first saw that Alta really at Red Bull Straight Rhythm a few years ago, and it was kind of a bit of a sort of hybrid. It was, people were learning what they could do with it, you know, it's great to see how much it really has come on. Well, Neil, you will be back with me in the commentary box shortly. He will be with me for all the ground displays, giving us his expert analysis on what we can see. We're going to take a look at some aerial displays from earlier on in the day now. And again, as I said, all these thousands of fans who've just turned up to see this. It is quite incredible. So this is the turbine legend from earlier on, an American sports monoplane. It was designed by Performance Aircraft, and really it was you know, you could buy this plane and it was, you could build it as a kind of amateur construction. You know, it's a streamed low wing monoplane, and Marc Rollier is the man giving us this display. But it is a beautiful, beautiful aircraft. 724 horsepower turboprop engine with a 3-bladed tractor propeller. So really the turbine legend is one of those greats for perhaps the more amateur pilot. And speaking of anything but an amateur pilot, the man who has just sat down beside me, Raymond Riedman, it is an absolute pleasure to have you here. I'm totally in safe hands.
Yes, hello. I'm happy to be here.
Great to have you here, Raymond. Talk to us about the Turbine Legend.
The Turbine Legends. Yeah, I was just looking a little bit about the airplane. So I heard the Turbine Legend was first built 1996, and it was a wonderful airplane built around a V8 engine. But later on they put the turbine in, and so you've seen the performance as it did. Yeah.
Here's a little look at some of this is what we saw earlier, the T28 Trojan, and of course the P38 Lightning. That is such a rare and wonderful thing. I've got goosebumps just looking at that take off. It's the only P38 Lightning, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the only P38 Lightning flying in Europe, and one of 22 or 26 left?
Absolutely. So there, I would say about 5-6 in flyable condition in the United States, but in Europe this one is the only one. And yeah, actually, so We were so lucky to fly today with the P38 Lightning, as we had some trouble.
I heard
coming
there
in.
was a story coming in.
It was really getting ready about 10 minutes before starting the engine, so we were really lucky and very happy to have those mechanics working so hard to get her flying. So we were going to bed yesterday well after 12 o'clock in the evening.
Wonderful to see the P38 Lightning, and of course the T28 Trojan in the sky as well. The plane that actually replaced the T6 Texan
absolutely
came along, and it was just a more capable plane than the Texan was.
Yeah, absolutely. It's much stronger, and you see Philipp Heidbauer now performing with the T28. So we did 2 passes first together. And you see now as well that smoke system, it's an amazing thing. So it's just located at the very end of the wings, and therefore there are those vortexes, and they make the smoke even denser. And you will see those big balls which are forming, and you could go through those. It's really an amazing airplane. And now the P38 coming in, that was just 1 hour ago, so I had to rush over here. And the P38 is an amazing airplane. It's one of the fastest airplane in World War II. So if you come in here, as you see, the maximum speed is nearly 400 knots. That's nearly 800 kilometers per hour. So it's very, very streamlined, and it's one of the fastest airplanes of that era.
Considering, you know, these were first kind of rolled out in 1940, you know, and
absolutely,
and you know, 10,000 were built. They saw a vast amount of military action. They were used for various different things. But as you said, at the time, it was groundbreaking, the P38.
Absolutely. So it was one of those really groundbreaking airplanes which were constructed, and they even were constructed in the very late 30s. So that was an amazing.
Well, again, earlier today, that was a wonderful display we just saw with the P38 Lightning. Still, I cannot express to you how lucky you are to have seen that. That is the only one flying in Europe, and it's right here today at Red Bull Race Day. We are looking at the Czech aerobatic team flying the Extreme Air XA42 aircraft. It's a German high-performance 2-seat aerobatic plane designed by Philipp Steinbach, and it's a composite structure, low-wing monoplane with that fixed conventional landing gear, but an incredibly usable aircraft.
Yeah, it's a very, very nice aerobatic airplane. So it could roll you need 2 fingers to roll it. It's very fast in rolling, and it's perfect match also for that kind of formation flying. And what the Czech aerobatic team is doing, that's amazing. So you see now negative maneuvers in a formation. That's very tough as well for the pilots. You see them performing up to 7-8 Gs plus, and even -5, -6 Gs negative, and that's really very, very hard. So you need lots of training. You need, of course, also good condition, and especially the music. So they are performing that well towards that music, and you see how fast they are rolling. So it's an amazing performance they're able to do.
And there is a vast amount of training that goes into this. This is not something that you can ever get wrong.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's about the same with us. So you have to start quite early in the season to do some training. And once you're in the training, of course, the season goes until October, sometimes even November. And so in that time, you're never getting out of experience. So each weekend we are going, as well as the Czech team is going to some air shows doing that kind of performance. And
it doesn't sound like work to me. It sounds like an absolutely brilliant way to spend your weekend.
It is. It's a combination, of course. You have to train, you have to perform, you have to be a little bit good to your body, but of course it's also a big joy for us. So it's we know it's something very special to fly on those kind of airplanes.
Here comes the arrow through the heart from the Czech aerobatic team. It was a wonderful display earlier on, but as you said, you have to be so physically fit to be able to deal with both the positive G. I mean, in the Red Bull Air races, you're allowed to run up to 10 G, but often those, I mean, the planes will quite happily exceed that, but -5 negative as well.
Yeah, the problem is it's no problem for the plane normally, so it's more a problem for the human. And you all absolutely have to stick to procedures. You have to trust your wingman in that kind of flying, and that's important that you have a good feeling about the other teammates who are flying with you.
Well, have a look at this. This is, again...
It's beautiful.
It's just got so much presence. The classic formation, the DC3, and then, of course, the Beach 18s that followed it up. It's just wonderful.
It's a good contrast to that kind of fast maneuvering which you have seen now with rolling a lot and doing aerobatics. Now you see the small moving of those big airplanes like the DC3s and the Beach 45 airplanes, which were all flying in World War II. Of course, they were produced also after World War II. But doing a formation with those kind of airplanes, which are not capable of rolling that much, it's also quite a bit of task on flying that tight formation with airplanes like that.
But there's something beautiful about seeing something that's got so much history. I mean, the DC3. I mean, witnessing the DC3 in the air, that fixed wing propeller, but it had so many different jobs, really, the DC3, and it kind of paved the way as well for civilian transport and all that kind of stuff. The DC3 was groundbreaking.
Absolutely, yeah. They built that many of the DC3s. So at the beginning, of course, that was a civil aircraft, and later on, as the World War II just came in that time, they were used in thousands and thousands, also for getting the troops over to Europe and for getting parachute troopers out. So it's a very, very important airplane in history. And as you said, it's one of the first airplanes which made transport available to the people.
Yeah, it really is. Again, something very special to witness. And a quick word on the beaches as well, because again, another plane that was used in so many different varieties. It saw military action, but then it was used. People used them as well from even most bizarre things, privately owned beaches.
Yeah, there were many of those flying in after World War II as kind of executive planes. So just like today, the more wealthy people are flying with Gulfstream, Dassault Falcons. They had at the time the Beach 45. Of course, they were not flying that fast, but you came from one place to the other one.
Look at that. I think that just sums up an absolutely beautiful
It's beautiful, yeah.
Earlier from the classic formation. Well, look, Raymond, we will be catching up with you again. You'll be coming back to the commentary box to talk
looking forward.
Many exciting aerial displays. Thank you so much. But I believe now we're going to go down to the ground and we're going to check out the Drift Brothers. Here it is.
What's up, everybody? The Red Bull Drift Brothers here.
Well, if that wasn't enough for you, believe me, what you're about to witness over the next kind of 3.5, 4 minutes definitely will be. There is Johannes Huntonji in his classic and very iconic Nissan 200SX S13. But Neil Jani, who's back with me in the commentary box. Neil, these cars are anything but standard, both running 4.7-litre Chevrolet engines. I can tell you the Nissan that Joe is in is doing the best part of 700 brake horsepower, and that BMW E30 that his brother Elias is in is doing 600 brake horsepower.
Exactly, but you would not be able to drive quick with those cars on a racetrack. They're really made to do a good show, for good drifts.
Absolutely made to go sideways.
Yeah, exactly. They have the power to go not forward, but sideways.
Exactly, and for those of you who were watching the show earlier, you'll know that Neil, Cole and myself, we had a go in the cars and we did a bit of drifting. Not in these, we weren't let loose in these, but we were. They're just warming up the tyres now, just getting some heat into the tyres. But you know, Neil and myself were in that 160 brake horsepower BMW. It was actually their first ever drift car together, basically a road-going E30 with a welded differential at the back. And but these guys, when you look at the power that's produced and the way it's produced, and of course the geometry on the front. It's designed to do exactly that, to just be able to hit sideways and
they mirror themselves, and that's not easy, you know, especially the guy following with the smoke all in the face. He needs to see well ahead.
It's the guys obviously have radios inside and they can communicate with each other, but believe me, and I was in that very pace car, the E30, yesterday, and it is, as you said, Neil, it's just pure smoke, and you know, Elias and Joe were saying yesterday that it's about sound. You're listening to what the car's doing in front and where he is on the throttle and that kind of stuff. You know that if he lifts, then actually you need to do the same thing as well, because you can't see them. It's incredible, the throttle control that goes into it. Have you ever had a go at this? Because it's completely different discipline.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's actually not easy at all for us to drift, and we try. You know, we have sometimes track experiences with Porsche. We have quite a bit of them. Then we try to go and drift, and we manage maybe one drift in a go, but not 5, 6, 10 of them in a row.
Well,
because it's like dancing, left, right, left, and you need to keep the momentum of the car. Obviously, they have, you know, they have the good handbrake. The handbrake is not to pull. They have a lever. They can just push.
Yep.
And
I mean, but all those things make such a difference. The hydraulic handbrake,
exactly.
It's all designed to go sideways.
Also the weight, they have a specific weight distribution so that the cars drift better.
Yeah.
They can completely lock the front axle on the brakes so that it can't stand still.
And getting that weight forward to make the back of the car go light makes all the
Exactly.
difference as well. It helps the car get sideways. But going back to what you were saying, you as a race driver, and when you are racing, the absolute last thing you want to be doing on a racetrack is drifting.
Yeah,
and
it's slow.
It
costs
slow,
you lap time and it costs you tires. And we saw them changing tires.
Yeah, they'll go through a set of tires just doing this.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not the quick way for racing, but you know, cool stuff.
Look at that.
Fun stuff doesn't need to be quick always.
No, exactly.
And that's what it's about.
It is pure fun.
But you know, all of us, also racing drivers, we're really impressed by these boys, what they do with the cars and the sound, the smoke. It's just, it's why we love cars.
Absolutely, absolutely. The throttle control that these guys have got is absolutely mind-blowing. And as well, they're doing 700 brake horsepower, but 800 Newton meters of torque. Can you imagine how much torque there is there? Unbelievable. Well, that is the end of the Red Bull Drift Brothers display, and what a display it was. I believe Neil is down in the airfield somewhere with the legend that is Matt Rabot. Neil.
Yes, thanks very much. There's so much smoke here left by the Drift Brothers. Beautiful, it smells great. And what an honor it is to meet you, Matt Rabot. First of all, how rad is it to have such a huge crowd here in your home country?
It's definitely amazing, you know, to have D7 in Switzerland and the crowd are here. It's just crazy. We got nice weather and it's just a perfect day.
Now, of course, it's race day, but you were showing us some amazing FMX stunts. Just check some of the tricks you guys were pulling off.
Yeah, we got a pretty cool setup, like pretty basic, but 25 meters long, and we do all the backflip variation and whip stuff, and that was very cool. And you know, when you jump and you can see the smile on the face of the crowd, it's just crazy.
And a bit different for you at the moment is you can hear the crowd as well, because you can't hear the engine. This is an electric motocross bike. Talk us through the spec of this and how difficult it's been for you to get used to this.
Yeah, I switched for electric bike. It's just amazing feeling when I ride, and for sure, you know, when I ride I can hear the crowd and hear some new noise than with a regular bike, and I cannot hear. And it's pretty cool. I'm very happy because the people have a very good view of that. I definitely trust on this new mobility, and I definitely think it's the future.
Now, obviously, this is the future of motocross. What's the future like for you, Matt? What's the next 6 months, next season?
You know, it's pretty cool. I get a lot of events, a lot of show, a lot of competition. In 1 month, we have the Red Bull Dakar in Germany. That will be a big free ride competition. And you know, I have a perfect life. I do what I love to do. It's my job, it's my passion, that's my sports, and just keep going this way and wide open.
Well, me too. Thanks very much. Great to meet you. Back to commentary, and I can see a Formula One car.
Legend that is Matt Rabot. It's not quite a Formula One car, Neil. It's a Formula 3 car.
Yeah.
It's a Formula 3 car.
Less sound there.
Yeah, a little bit less noise. But listen, a hell of a machine. And this is what the kind of younger generation, the youngsters are coming up through in the Genza Motorsport Red Bull Junior team in the ranks of motorsport. You start out in karting, and then perhaps you know, depending on where you live, maybe you go and do a bit of Formula BMW, a bit of Formula Renault. But you know, Formula 3 is that feeder series kind of into GP2 and then onto Formula 1. And as you well know, Neil.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it's Formula 3. It's for 16 to 17, 18-year-olds.
Yep.
Except if your name is Max Verstappen, then you drive already Formula 1. but it's a good car. It's a powerful car for this young kid. Lots of downforce, and yeah, it looks like a Formula 1 car. I mean, Neil thought it was a Formula 1 car, and it drives at the same weekend as the F1. So you have F1, F2, and F3. They're all on the same weekend, so that you have the ladder from there up to Formula 1.
It does follow the International Formula 3 program, does follow the Formula 1 guys around, and actually as a car...
Matt, just give us an idea of how cool this is.
Sort of aerodynamics package, but as a monocoque, it's incredibly stiff. They do generate a vast amount of downforce. You've got to be incredibly fit to drive one of these cars, and that, you know, they are, as you said, the perfect feeder car into GP2 and then on into Formula 1 and Formula 3, and going back into that Formula 3000 was, you know, has been around for generations as that feeder series.
Yeah, and I think it's always important to have a good feeder series for young guys, and you can see the car pushing hard.
He's having a go. That's Yuki Tsunoda driving that, the Japanese driver, by the way, on the Red Bull team.
He drove before the F4, I think.
That's right.
And he went at it already there. Sometimes I thought, like, ooh, he's close to some big moments.
Yeah, Yuki started out, as most young drivers do, started out in karting and in Japan, and was really kind of a father and son team. His dad was a Gymkhana racer, and Yuki got involved in karting and said, "Look, Dad, this is what I want to do for a living," and they've been pushing for that ever since. And he's achieved a great deal of success. Won the Formula 4 Japan series in 2018, and has been, as you said, as we've been discussing, kind of just slowly working his way up the ranks, and Formula 1's where he wants to be.
Well, he's one of the Honda proteges. Yeah, he's Japanese. Honda with Red Bull now. Honda wants to see a Japanese back in F1. So, and Red Bull has that great junior team.
Yep.
So they're part of it, and if they perform well, you know, they have all doors open. So I think he's one of them.
For sure. I mean, the junior program,
something happens.
As you said, the junior program has opened so many doors for so many young drivers, and if the pace is there and the
same for me, yeah. I was part of the Red Bull Junior program 2002.
Earlier in the break, earlier in the break, Neil made me feel old, so now I'm going to make you feel old. That was a long. In fact, you were the first, weren't you? The first.
No.
One of the first, because the first was in 2000, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Christian Klein.
That's right.
The very first driver. There was another one, Hannes Lachinger. There were some. I was, I guess, around. In the very first one, I was also there. It was when this all got, let's say, invented, founded by Dietrich Mateschitz, Helmut Marko, and yeah, it has helped me become a professional race car driver. Today I'm a Porsche factory driver thanks to that. I think without that help, it wouldn't have worked. So, oof, there he's going.
He's really having a go, but that just goes to show you know, how again, just the back of the car stepping out. But again, these cars going sideways, they don't like to go sideways. They're so stiff, and it's a difficult car to control.
He actually needs to be careful he doesn't have a tank slapper here. Because...
But we saw him driving the Formula 4 car earlier, which has significantly less power. It has less downforce package on it, less aero package on it. It's still an incredibly capable car, but it's for drivers still, you know, kind of who aren't at that Formula 3 level yet, and they're working their way. It kind of bridges the gap between karting and Formula 3. But Yuki was kind of doing full 360s down the down the runway. It was quite impressive to watch.
So that was his checkered flag now. Showcase that car, definitely in a good way. The difficult thing is these cars have a lot of power, but yet they don't really have enough power like an F1 to do the donuts like Seb would do afterwards in the Red Bull Racing. So that's not super easy to do with those cars.
No, but again, you know, so many young drivers have got a great deal to thank with the Red Bull Junior team. As you said, Neil, there's been plenty of people coming through that program, and great to see that Formula 3 car being showcased here at Grenchen in Switzerland. Now, I can tell you that Neil Cole went and saw one of the absolute monsters here at Grenchen at the Red Bull Race Day 2019. It is one of the service trucks from the Dakar Rally.
There are so many awesome vehicles here, some with no wheels, some with 2, some with 4, but I think this is the only one with 6. This is a Dakar truck. Now, we're more used to seeing the blue armada of the Kamaz trucks, and back in January in Peru, Red Bull had a clean sweep of all categories: cars, bikes, quads, and trucks. But this is a little different, isn't it? Christian Karnopkar, tell us about the history of this truck.
The history, this truck is made in 1988. It's made for the German army, and then we decided we use it.
And it's quite a big beast. Give us a sense of the basics: horsepower, weight.
The basics are like 12 tons. We have around 670 horsepower. And yeah, that's the most important basics I think you need.
What if we had like an airfield here and maybe I could drive it? How fast do you think we could go?
Of course you can. Yeah, I would like to have some famous people inside my truck.
Ha, ha, let's go. Now, firstly, it's not the easiest thing to get into, as you just saw, but I think I styled it out. Okay, Christian, what do I need to know?
Your part is to start it.
Okay. Should we listen to what this engine sounds like? Okay, let's go. It's a childhood dream. I'm driving a truck. Brilliant experience. Thank you so much, Christian. One final thing about what's so special about this vehicle.
Yeah, I'm always thinking like when we were kids, we were afraid of giants and monsters and things like that. And now I'm happy I can drive one.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Talking of monsters, let's hand you back to Mike Chen.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Neil. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Now, we are going to go to a short break, but I can tell you, when we're back, the legend that is Raimund Riedman will be joining me in the commentary box, and we will have all sorts of displays coming up, both on the air and on the ground. And we will start with the Red Bull Air Race. So please make sure you stay with us. Don't go away. All the very best. Well, if you are still watching on the YouTube and Facebook simulcast programs, thank you very much for staying with us. As you can see, coming up, we will have Kriegel Maurer, one of the absolute Swiss legends. He's won the X-Alps 6 times in a row. Neil will be speaking to him. And, of course, I will be joined by Raimund Riedman back in the commentary box when we will be witnessing the BO-105C helicopter, the only aircraft, the only helicopter that can really kind of mimic anything that an aeroplane can do. It is an incredible machine. So make sure you stay with us for all of that here in Grenchen in Switzerland. Of course, when we come back after the break, there will be this Red Bull Air Race demo. That's what we're going to kick off the action, so make sure you stay with us. Thanks for your company, guys. Welcome back to Red Bull Race Day 2019. We are here in Grenchen, Switzerland, and what an event this is. We have brought together the very best of race cars, motorbikes, and of course, aerial displays in one place here. It's an absolute pleasure to be here this weekend and to be bringing these incredible pictures to you. We are watching Matt Rabot from earlier on, who put on a hell of a show with the Freestyle motocross, and here are the Drift brothers in there. That's a Nissan 200SX doing 700 brake, followed by a BMW E30 doing 600 brake, both 4.7 litre Chevrolet engines. Incredible drift machines, incredible car control shown earlier on from the Drift Brothers. So if you are just joining us, this is some of the action that you missed and a reason to go back and watch it. But it so far has been a fantastic day here at the Red Bull Race Day. Over 20,000 fans have descended upon the airfield, and what a beautiful airfield it is. Just look at that. It's classic Switzerland, absolutely stunning, and the weather turned out to be absolutely perfect for us. So this is the Team Scherer display, and joining me in the commentary box, a man who doesn't really need much of an introduction, but I'm going to give him one. Ryman Riedman. He's been flying with the Flying Bulls since the year 2000, pretty much since it was started, and has pretty much approval to fly anything in the Flying Bulls fleet. Ryman, great to have you back in the commentary box. This is something that's absolutely.
It's a wonderful display. So the Planix teams, they have 2 Planix planes, so those are glider planes, and yeah, the aerobatics they are doing, it's just spectacular. You see they're flying absolutely in parallel, and you could see them rolling around. They are doing this since now I think about 20 years, so there's lots of experience in them. And yeah, since about 15 years they're sponsored by Red Bull. It's just looking as cool. There's some gliders, radio controlled gliders flying, but no, that's reality what they are doing. Yeah,
yeah, it is. This is all controlled by Andy and Tim.
I see.
And it's just absolutely beautiful, isn't it?
I nearly thought this is really the Planix team, and they are flying in reality.
No, this
I see they're radio controlled.
This is radio
That's
control,
amazing what they're
radio
doing.
control gliding.
They're just doing the same as the real team is doing. So,
but the thing is, it's so easy to make that mistake because you look at it,
absolutely. Yeah.
The wingspan of the gliders it looks like real, but it's all done radio controlled by Andy and Tim Scherer, father and son duo. Who fly these Swift S1 remote control gliders. They've wrapped up numerous championships, and basically how it works is they're towed in by a remote control aircraft.
Oh yes,
and they fly up, and then the remote control, once they get to the altitude they need to be at, where the thermals and everything's working for them, they're released from the towing aircraft.
Now you see it, yes, of course. Yeah. Once they're coming lower, you see there's not a real human sitting in, but anyway, so it's looking fantastic. Yeah.
All done with a radio remote controlled glider. It is absolutely beautiful and incredible as well. Isn't it mind-blowing?
Yeah, with that smoke system, yeah. They really fooled me up, yeah.
it's so, I'll be honest, the first time I ever saw these guys, I made exactly the same comment that you did. I was like, no, that can't be remote controlled, but it is. It is incredible. And those aircraft.
Even the gear is coming out. That's beautiful with those details. Yeah.
It is stunning, and they're just coming down now. And they only weigh between kind of 15 and 20 kilos, and you can go lighter than that as well. Yeah. It is absolutely.
Look how they are doing.
Incredible. That's where you get the real impression of the size of them. And there you go. There's Andy and Tim, the Scherers, father and son. And what a way to spend time with your dad or your son, going and doing that. It's great. And a fantastic display.
Beautiful display.
Congratulations, guys. That was, absolutely superb. Well, as we say, congratulations to the Scherers, Andy and Tim. I believe that Neil is with, as I said, an absolute legend. A Swiss legend. 6 times he's won the X-Alps. He needs no introduction. Kriegelmauer. Neil.
Yeah, so I have what must be known as a Swiss national hero here, Chris Kriegelmauer. First of all, congratulations on a spectacular opening to Red Bull Race Day. How did that feel?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very proud to be here. Finally, the weather helps us as a paraglider to fly, and that we can be the beginning of this great show. It was amazing.
You must be relieved that you didn't have to hike your way to launch in on the paraglider, because that's what you're known for. But what was the experience of being in the helicopter and then jumping out?
Yeah, I would say that's my job as a show pilot. I do this 5 to 10 times a year, so it's not often. And it's always a bit the hard part of the show to start out jumping out of the helicopter, because it have to work, it have to be safe for me and for the helicopter. And when we was out 1,000 meters over the ground, it was just beautiful, and we could see all the beautiful place with all the people, and then I was ready to start the show.
And did you do any sort of special stunts that you wouldn't normally do as a special treat for your home fans?
Now we did some tricks that we know from the aerobatic competition. For the show we go together, that it looks like controllable. I mean, when we do the synchro, it looks more controllable. And for us it is standard. We do this every week and we know how it works, and for the show we go maybe for 70% of the limit. So it's also good fun to fly in a safe range and to present the people what we can do with a paraglider, which is just 7 kilo.
Amazing. Well, all the best with you defending your title the rest of this year. Great to meet you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much and have fun.
Kriegel Maurer there, as you said, a Swiss national legend, Neil. It is brilliant that he is here. Now, let's move on to what is probably one of the most anticipated, I think, Ryman, displays. It is, of course, the helicopter, the BO-105C, and here is some of it in action.
Yeah, that's Blackie Schwarz performing.
So that's a little bit of what we are in for, and it really is an incredible sight, isn't it, Ryman? And you know,
it's always impressive.
Look at that!
Wow.
That's a helicopter going upside down. That defies all laws of physics.
Absolutely.
You know so much about this aircraft, and you know so much about Blackie Schwarz as well.
Yeah,
the man
I know him a little bit. Of course, I'm not in helicopters that much, but I had the honor to join them a couple of times on some aerobatics flying, and it's just another kind of aerobatic flying as you're doing with an extra or something like this. So especially if you loop to the front, so that's something you're not able to do with aeroplanes, and that's impressive. And you see you could do everything. You could have them rolling. You have the possibility to do some loops, Cuban eights. So of course you need quite a bit of experience, and there are not many people and pilots able to fly. Actually, there are just 4 people now. They learned it from Rainer Wilke, it's a German one, and Blackie Schwarz, as well as Mirko Fleim, and now Aaron Fitzgerald. Those are the only ones which are capable of flying with this kind of helicopter, and what they are doing, that's just amazing. It's the same as we are doing, so we are starting with an aerobatic camp. Most of the times we are going to Maribor at the beginning of the season, and you just have to train, and that's the secret about getting a professional on flying aerobatics.
2,500 kilos, it's 2.4 tons. Going upside down in a helicopter as a helicopter, as one unit, which is, as you said, is quite incredible. But as I said, it defies the laws of physics and the technology that's in this aircraft. I mean, that we first saw the BO-105s kind of in the 60s and 70s. Obviously, it's developed a lot since then. But
that's the secret, because the Belkov 105 that was a helicopter which was not designed on a computer. So they later on found out it's just a little bit over-designed. It was made much stronger than it would have had to. And that's a secret why you're able to do that, those maneuvers with the Belkov 105. And honestly, there's no other helicopter which is able to do those maneuvers.
No, there's no other helicopter in the world that can do what this does. The production of it came to an end in 2001, but it is still widely used for civilian, military, and paramilitary activities, and it's particularly suited also to rescue missions and offshore duties. And the two models that actually made it into the Flying Bulls in 2005 were built in 1974 and remarkably previously served as police helicopters.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it really is a very, very special piece of kit, fitted with 2 engines, dual hydraulics and a dual electric supply. And it was kind of those innovations that paved the way for aerobatics in helicopters. And as Raymond said earlier, it is the only helicopter that is capable of doing that. And you never ever, it's mind-bending, isn't it? It's actually like a helicopter going upside down and doing those loops, and it is just a wonderful thing to witness.
Yeah, and this will be the maneuver. You are, just looping it to the front. So that's something very, very special, because you don't have those negative G's as you would have on an airplane. And that's something, if you're sitting as a wing pilot in a helicopter doing those maneuvers, you are getting feared about, because you could bet the airplane is not able to fly, or the helicopter is not able to fly those maneuvers, but it is. So it's a big task sitting in a helicopter and to observe this kind of maneuvers.
Of course, something that's we're seeing this aircraft being used here as a display aircraft and doing things, frankly, that you would think helicopters just simply weren't capable of doing. But as I said earlier, it is still used, and it's a very usable plane for various different genres. It's a very usable helicopter, and you look up to the skies, and you do see plenty of them still flying.
You could do everything with this one. So as you said, so it was used for rescue missions. It was used within the military, and nowadays it's a helicopter you could get for quite cheap money. Of course, if you modify it for doing aerobatics, you constantly have to care about her. Oh, look at that! It's doing,
I mean, that's almost going into a tailspin. It's just mind-blowing. Of course, and that's actually something we haven't mentioned, is that there are modifications and a great deal of adaptations that have gone into allowing the BO-105C that we're watching be able to do this, but the core structure and the original foundation of the aircraft remains the same.
That's fully original. Yeah. There are some smaller modifications, but not bigger ones. So, but you have to care about. So you have to examine those parts which are a little bit more stressed than if you're flying level, much more than if you just use it for personal transport or something like that.
And that's the other thing that, not just with any of the aircraft that we're seeing, or in fact the motorbikes or the cars that we'll see at Red Bull Race Day today, is that they're not just machines. They are living, breathing things that need to be maintained, looked after, and loved, as you said.
And that's something you always have to bear in mind. So it's not just the pilot by himself. He's doing those maneuvers, and he is much admired. But what is behind the scenes, you also have to admire as well. So the technicians who care about, and it's a lot of work to keep those airplanes and helicopters in the air, to maintain them, and we are lucky to be in the situation to fly those breeds. But anyway, it's a big task.
It's a massive task as well, and it's not just about you going and playing with aircraft. You're keeping these beautiful old, and I'm going to use the word monuments because they are monuments of the sky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Flying, and it's so. I mean, in particular the Lightning. To see that flying is a very, very special thing. And
it's the only one Lightning in that kind, or being flown in that kind of aerobatics. So it's perfectly capable of doing this. But many of those warbirds, they are quite much cared about, so they are not doing aerobatics anymore. But it's a privilege to use them as they were used shortly after the World War II for air shows and for air racing.
Well, we are just looking back at some of the best images of the BO-105C helicopter doing what it does best, and I never thought you'd say it, and that is really going upside down and doing this incredible, putting on an incredible aerobatic show for the fans here. And
Blackie Schwarz, he did a perfect job.
A hell of a pilot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have to have really good coordination. And what's also a little bit you have to use to getting used of as a fixed wing pilot. So there's not much stress on the airplane. So normally you have to pull about 4, 5, 6 Gs. With the helicopter, it's just about 2.5.
Yeah, it really is an incredible thing, and as you said, there's kind of different levels of stress that go through. I mean, the rotors, you can hear them kind of going dop, 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 and really working incredibly hard. We are looking at Nicolas Ivanov and there is Matthias Dolderer getting ready for the Red Bull Air Race display. In the meantime, let's take a quick look at a little bit more about what it's about. Well, there you go. That's a little bit of what we are in for. Up next will be Nicolas Ivanov and Matthias Dolderer in the Red Bull Air Race planes. And, you know, I've been lucky enough to work on the Red Bull Air Race back in 2016, and it's one of the most incredible things I've ever done. And you kind of lose looking at it on the monitor how maneuverable these planes are. But if you haven't been to one, I beg you, please go and have a look, because it really is incredible what these guys and what these planes can do. Now, this is Nicolas, and you can see him flying between the pylons, which is it's what makes up the circuit of the Red Bull Air Race. You have to fly between them and around them, and there are various penalties for hitting them or for exceeding a certain amount of G. If you exceed 10 G for more than just 6/10 of a second,
you really have to be precise. So precise flying, that's most important, because you are losing energy, you're losing time if you're not doing that perfect flying.
Nicolas flying the Edge 330 LX, and we did hear Ryman talking about the Edge, and the Edge really is, you know, there are different manufacturers that you can get, but the Edge seems to be the preferred aerobatic plane that you go for.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Nicolas now is flying the Extra 330, but nevertheless, I think Matthias is flying the Edge 540.
Beg your pardon, Edge, Matthias is in the 540, the Edge 540, you're right.
But actually both have the same engine, but however the Extra is a little bit heavier, so it doesn't respond that fast, and it's also not that fast in speed, so there's a little bit a penalty for the Edge, for the Extra. Now you see the Edge coming in, so Matthias Dolderer coming in with the Edge. Yeah, he's starting to get into that circuit, pulling about at least 8-9 Gs, so if it's pulling up, it might be 10 Gs.
I'd say there at the turn there was maybe more than 1 G. Big.
And now it's coming in again, and pulling up again.
In the air race, as I said, you're not allowed to exceed more than 10 G for 6/10 of a second. Now, obviously, the guys here, they're able to monitor the G that they're pulling, obviously, from inside the aircraft. But with that not being such a factor today, I'm sure Matthias and Nicolas will be having an awful lot of fun out there.
That might be, yeah.
It goes back to what we were saying earlier, that these planes will probably go up to 18, 19, maybe even 20 positive G.
They are certified for 12 Gs, and there's another margin of 6 Gs, so 18 Gs, and it could fail at 18 Gs, but so normally a pilot is not able to clear 18 Gs.
You couldn't, the plane is sort of betters the human. 18 G is what these planes are capable of, and you're going to black out before that. We can see in the bottom left-hand corner, the Red Bull Air Race. It goes to Chiba next on September the 8th. You can follow all the action, of course, on Red Bull, so make sure you do check it out. Everything will be there, redbull.com. Follow all the stories from the Red Bull Air Race. We're back with Nicolas Ivanov. Matthias Dolderer will just be waiting, if you'll excuse the pun, waiting in the wings. It's the way that they're so controlled, and believe me, again, it's something you lose. It's a sort of a vista that you lose when you're looking on the monitors. The commentary monitors are on your television, but how low they're able to fly. So controlled.
And you literally could see if they are losing some energy. So precise flying, that's the most important at the air race. Yeah. That's beautiful how he's doing. We're quite lucky if we're doing that kind of freestyle flying, so we don't have to be that precise. So we're just looking to please the crowds, but it's not that much about precision. Of course, a little bit, but
it's as you said, it is all about being precise.
Yeah.
There's no margin for error either in the Red Bull Air Race at all.
Yeah.
You can't afford to make any mistakes. You clip a pylon, you pick up a 3-second penalty.
Yeah, you're completely out of time.
That's it. And 3 seconds is, it might as well be a year in this kind of racing. You know, it's a massive amount of time. So it is all about being so precise and being prepared for it. And you see as well the pilots as they're preparing for a race, they'll go through and they'll do they'll fly it in their mind. And it honestly is a really incredible spectacle, and it's been. Well, for me, it was a real privilege to be involved in the Red Bull Air Race back in 2016. And wonderful, wonderful planes. This is Matthias Dolderer in the Edge 540 aerobatic aircraft.
Yeah, those engines, they have around 320 horsepower. So, and the airplanes, they weigh just about 550, 600 kilograms. So they are very, very light.
And a big, but obviously very well balanced. I believe it's a triple blade propeller on these. Is that right?
Yeah. Most of them they have the triple bladed prop. Yeah. A constant speed prop.
The way it just pulls up and it just keeps on pulling.
It's doing a little bit and freestyle aerobatics as well. Yeah. Wow.
Look at that.
Gone in a vertical spin and flying out of the spin without losing energy. That's incredible.
Well, that was the Red Bull Air Race display. Nikola Ivanov and Matthias Dolderer giving the fans something to cheer about. I believe that Neil is down with Siegfried Blackie-Schwarz, an absolute legend, the man who flew the BO-105C helicopter just a few moments ago. Neil.
Yeah, this is Blackie-Schwarz, and I have to say, for a man who just did that in the sky with a helicopter, you look very calm and collected and sensible. You know, to the layperson, that seems quite crazy.
But the actual work the helicopter is doing, so I'm just sitting inside and watching what he's doing, so that works well.
But with all due modesty aside, you've kind of innovated this whole freestyle helicopter, the Flying Bulls. Talk us a little bit about the history and where you've got to today.
Yeah, so actually it was one guy, his name was Rainer Wilke, he was a German army instructor, and he still had a civil aerobatic license, and he was our instructor. That was about 12, 13 years ago. And since that time we fly with 4 helicopters, aerobatics all around the world, and it works beautiful.
Now, when we watch it, we know that the physics of it is that a helicopter's rotors are due to be lifted in the air. So talk us through the physics of when it's upside down. How does that work?
Yeah, it's just because of the momentum. So we cannot fly in a stable upside down position. So it's just the moment when we do a loop or we do a roll that we are upside down. But otherwise it doesn't work.
Okay, fair enough. And give us a little word about how special this event is here in Switzerland. More than 20,000 people, loads of families, certainly enjoying what you were doing. How does it feel for you?
Yeah, it's incredible. So if you want to go from one place to another, it takes 1 hour because there are so many people and no chance to get something to eat or something because there are incredible long row and all these people are very excited and really incredible public for us and especially from the air. So you see all these people around on the highway, the cars, the highway is blocked, so that's really incredible.
Yeah, well, you've got a very privileged view up there, but you've definitely deserved it. Chapeau to you, thank you very much. Back to you in commentary.
Thanks, Neil, and thank you also to Siegfried Blackie-Schwarz. He really is an absolute legend, and you know what he does with that helicopter is absolutely mind-blowing. And what he said, it's all about momentum. You have to carry so much momentum, and he really does that incredibly. Fantastic show from him. Now, rejoining me in the commentary box, Neil Jani. As I said, for those of you who missed earlier, Neil has driven pretty much everything. Sports car racing currently, he's won Le Mans, he's done various testing with Formula 1 cars, A1 Grand Prix, you name it, Neil has done it. So Neil, it's great to be back in the commentary box with you. I believe, as we watch Matthias Dolder and Nikola Ivanov make their way back to their hangars, I believe we're set for a Supermoto and stunt bike show. I think that's what's coming up next. Neil, what's been the highlight for you so far?
I think the day itself, yeah. I think it's hard to pick one thing. If you like engines, you like them if they're up in the air or if they're on the ground. So to me, it's the day, you know. For Switzerland, I live 15 minutes from here, just down the road, basically. And having such an event so close to home is special. And actually, so many people also turning up. It shows you that there is an interest here, which is great for the region.
Absolutely, massive interest in this, and it is a real privilege to be here. That man is Danny Bad Boy Müller, and we'll explain a little bit more about him later on. That's Mike Jensen, the Danish stunt bike rider, one of the very best in the world, and the man in the middle is Jarno Mori. But just going back to what you're saying, it does show that there is so much passion for this, and like for the likes of myself and for the likes of you to come here and you look left or right, no matter where you look, you've either got motorbikes, you've got race cars, or you've got aeroplanes, and
helicopters.
And helicopters, and you go,
yeah.
That'll do me, you know. So it really is fantastic, and comes as no surprise to me that Grenchen is absolutely packed out here for Red Bull Race Day. It has been such a massive success.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see now Patrick in Patrick Friesacker in the NASCAR.
In the NASCAR, he's coming up a little bit later.
Blew up his tire a little early before, you know? So that will be after the Supermotos, eh?
Yeah, that's right, the Red Bull NASCAR live display coming up. That man there in the check shirt is Mike Jensen from Denmark on his Kawasaki ZX6R. And these two chaps, Danny Bad Boy Müller. There is a fantastic documentary on Red Bull TV about Danny Müller. He has been through so much in his life, you know, from jet ski accidents to all sorts, and the man behind him is Jarno Mori, who is, if he's not on a Yamaha...
Are you saying they know how to break a bone?
Yeah, most people on motorbikes, I think, know how to break a bone, but they also know how to repair themselves pretty quickly and get going again. There's Danny, and as I said, trust me, you know, he has really hit rock bottom in his career as Matt Jensen G's up the crowd. Now, we talk about throttle control with the Drift Brothers, but what he's doing there is...
Yeah, you can see him look with the right hand.
Just nibbling away at the throttle.
Just keeping the bike basically up there.
Just nibbling away at the throttle, controlling it on the rear brake.
I mean, I'm repeating myself, but I'm always amazed about all the body control you need to have. You know, just on two wheels, it's obviously a lot higher. It's like in skiing. To control it, and at speed that gets more difficult. Then the little movements, as we just saw with the throttle control. Yeah, it just shows you what the body is capable of.
Well, particularly Danny Müller's body. That's on the 473. That's Jarno Mori, and Jarno's run 473 pretty much since the start of his career. But as we rejoin Mike, look at that! I mean, it's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Does he actually have a back protector even on? I think he's just having his own fun, basically, there with no leathers, nothing.
Massive confidence.
Not bad, no?
Massive confidence in himself, for sure. Here comes Jarno, and there he is, Danny Müller, putting on a fantastic display on his Yamaha Supermoto. He doesn't actually compete professionally anymore. You know, he is an absolute Swiss superstar and adored in the world of Supermoto. And he actually had a terrible jet ski accident at the age of 26. He was in a coma. He came back from that. 93 and 94, he wrapped up the Swiss Motocross Championships. And then in 97, you're going to love this, in 1997, he broke his leg 3 times doing motocross and then went, nah, I've had enough of this, guys, and made the switch to Supermoto. And and then became the absolute legend that he is. And he kind of got his name, you know, bad boy, from doing various tricks for the fans after the finish line. So he's an absolute character. Let's take a look at some of the action from earlier on today. Here we go. This is the Drift Brothers doing their tandem 360 with the doors open and waving to the fans as well.
And smoking themselves nicely in.
Do you know what?
You said they have a V8 Chevy engine in there.
V8 Chevy.
Basically a NASCAR engine.
Basically, yeah. It's
more or less the same as Freestyle would have then.
Yeah, basically.
In the NASCAR,
it's a 4.7 heavily breathed on. Heavily breathed on. Everything inside that. It's forged rods, forged pistons, you name it. Yeah, they're doing 600-700 brake horsepower. And that's Julian van Stippen from earlier on. And that was a fantastic show with the Freestyle Motocross. And he was doing that, of course, with Matt Rabot. And Matt was riding there. You can see here's Matt Rabot coming up. Matt riding the electric bike. Slightly, it's still strange, you know, in the air.
Big
in the end, but you can't hear anything. It's still strange with the electric bikes, but it is coming on so much.
Well, instant torque on the electric bikes. I think for shows, it's actually not bad in terms of, well, we'll miss the sound, but for instant torque is great for controllability.
Of course, with two-stroke or four-stroke, you have to wait to get into the power band. With the electric, you just open it up and you've got 100% torque, so you're absolutely right. And this is the classic formation from earlier on. That is a DC-3 with 3 beach aircraft flying behind it, and it really was wonderful to see that. That followed the Lightnings and the Trojan that we saw in the air. And a very different machine. And of course, the DC-3, as we were saying earlier on, was
got some history.
Was pivotal in kind of how the air industry moved forward. The DC-3 was so important. And this, of course, the BO-105C. Have a look at Neil. What do you think of that? Because I was sat chatting to Roman about this. Helicopters should not go upside down, but that does.
I would say, yeah, if he's on an emergency flight and needs to come and get you somewhere, it would be the man who has to come and get you.
Exactly, yeah. He'd be like, please send Blackie to come and get me.
He'll get you out of the mountain anytime, at any weather.
One of the very best, certainly, helicopter pilots in the world. It was incredible. This is the Czech aerobatic display from earlier on. All done to music as well. Look at that. Doing that in negative G, as Ryman was saying earlier, is incredibly difficult to do, and so much discipline in the air.
Yeah, that was quite cool. I was looking at that while, and that they had the music choreographed to what they did, and it's very impressive. It's something new to me as well, and yeah, they had also some Top Gun music going at some stage. Yeah, it was goosebump moment, definitely.
Yeah, all done. All of it's done to music, which I guess makes the training even more difficult. It really was quite an incredible display. But we're certainly not done yet at race day. There's still so much more to come, and I know you're looking forward to seeing Patrick Friesacher in the NASCAR.
I'll see what he does to his tires now.
See how he gets on with that. There is Danny Müller, well into his 50s now, that man. And he is, yeah, he's just a total hero. He really is.
There you can see Lakeland region.
There's Nicolas Ivanov on the left and Sebastian Buemi on your right. We plan, hopefully, to see Sebastian driving the legendary RB8 Formula One car that won the 2012, both the drivers and the Constructors' Championship. So we've got that coming up a little bit later on. But this is Patrick Friesacher in the Red Bull NASCAR. And there's actually some really interesting history. Listen to that.
Yeah, that's a proper V8. His tires won't survive leader long.
So much power and so much torque coming from that huge V8 engine. When the Red Bull NASCAR actually started running, they initially were not running with the Toyota Camry. They're initially with the Dodge, and then they moved over to use the Toyota Camry as a platform and stuck with it.
Well, something happened. I think he has a problem there, or
knock the engine off. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Perhaps a small stall from.
I think he can only drive it with spinning wheels.
Yeah. But yeah, so Patrick Freestyle.
He's a pro on that car.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a difficult car to drive. And I've actually been on the ice race beginning of the year, in January, in Austria. And he drove it with spikes on the ice.
Right.
Fantastic to watch. Because it's a beast, it's heavy, it's made for ovals.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
It goes great.
And you'll see that it gets a little bit twitchy in certain places. And remember, this runway isn't perfectly flat as well. It does get a little bit twitchy, and it looks almost a little bit kind of unbalanced. It doesn't really look, but it's just all about the straight line speed and the noise that this thing creates. Buries the throttle down to the other end of the runway. The 38-year-old Austrian race driver, the first, well, certainly again one of the first ever Red Bull Junior drivers, and you know, obviously he came through in karts and he raced in Formula 3000, which kind of at the time was the equivalent to GP2 as we know it now. He did a very brief stint with the Formula 1 Minardi team, and now here driving the Red Bull NASCAR and having an absolute blast. You know, over the years, you know, the team saw legends like Bill Elliott, Brian Vickers coming through, and interestingly, in 2010, I remember that Brian Vickers he was ill, and that resulted in him missing a load of the season. And we saw Casey Mears, Reed Sorensen, and even, here's one for you, Neil, Matthias Ekstrom had a go.
I remember that actually. Yeah. He's a DTM driver normally.
DTM driver, rallycross.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so we've seen kind of all these motorsport legends coming over or going over to the US and driving that car, and it really is a very, very special thing. It's brilliant, just like the you know, we're seeing, you know, some incredible aircraft out there. We're still seeing things like this, that NASCAR is being looked after and run. I'm hearing that we can go down to Neil as we see Patrick Freestyle doing his best to eat a set of rear tyres on that NASCAR. I'm hearing that we can go down to Neil, who is with Fanny Smith, another Swiss legend, and I believe Fanny had a go in the NASCAR yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. While the NASCAR makes a lot of smoke behind us, Fanny, you were lucky enough to get a drive in that. Now, we can hardly hear ourselves. I guess it was loud in the car as well.
Actually, it was less loud than outside when you hear now. So I was quite impressed, and I really just enjoyed that moment.
And obviously, we're more used to seeing you in ski cross. So how, I think he's just burnt through his rear tires. Look, completely destroyed his rear tires.
Yeah, that was crazy. And actually, in Dakar, I didn't feel it. And when I went outside and I saw like the towel completely like dead and flat, I was like, oh my God, you know, like that's, you know, pretty we smash it.
And someone who's used to dealing with adrenaline in your sport, how does that compare? Because it's a very different kind of speed, but you're not in control.
I was not in control because I was sitting next to, but I really love like everything what is with speed, adrenaline or whatever. So yeah, you know, to have Patrick driving, I was safe, I mean, and I really enjoyed to be like drifting and just enjoying the ride, actually.
And of course, we've got the bikes behind us, we've got the Formula 1 car there. It's an incredible experience today. What's it like for you to have this in your home country for the tens of thousands of fans who've come out today?
That's amazing. I think, you know, what Red Bull's made is a huge event who is with so many different disciplines and different engine. And I mean, I was, you know, so happy that I'm here and not in training, and to be able to watch it with the plane, who was amazing, the cars, the e-bikes and everything, who was, you know, such something so mixed, actually.
And for you, obviously, a lot of extreme free sports athletes move on to motorsports later in their careers. A, is that something you will think about? And B, what's the next season holding for you with championships to defend?
So maybe, really, I really like to this sensation of speed and the car and driving. And then, yeah, next season's World Cup season's coming up, and for sure, you know, it's always the same point, preparing as best I can to win as much races possible, and then the Olympic Games in 2020. Looking forward.
Okay, well, good luck. Thank you very much. Lovely to meet you. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Neil. Doing a brilliant job down there. I think Fanny really enjoyed that experience, and we were actually, as we were watching, Sebastian Buemi in the Red Bull racing car. That is the 2012 race car, and it will be running after this very short break. Do not go away. So we are looking at the Red Bull racing car, the F1 car that was used in 2012. If you are watching on Facebook and YouTube, thank you very much for sticking with us. I can tell you that inside that car is Sebastian Buemi. And the first thing you'll notice is the considerable difference in sound between what we hear now, we hear now with the turbocharged generation, and this wonderful screaming V8.
That's when F1 was still having some good sound on the cars.
It truly was.
Before the turbo era came.
Was incredible. Thanks for staying with us on Facebook and YouTube, guys. Welcome back to Red Bull Race Day on Red Bull TV. Now, some of you might say we have saved the very best for last. I personally wouldn't, because I've loved every single second of it, but that is the 2012 Red Bull racing car that Sebastian Vettel won the Formula One season, and the team wrapped up the Constructors' Championship that year as well, alongside Mark Webber. That car, between Mark and Seb, Sebastian Vettel, they won 7 races. Vettel took 5, Mark Webber took 2 victories. But the first thing you will notice, and Neil, Gianni is still sat with me, we've both got massive smiles on our face, is the sound. This was when the guys were still running those wonderful screaming V8 engines that rev to 18,000 RPM. Obviously now we've moved to the smaller turbocharged generation of race cars, but this was one of the things that made Formula One so special, and I'm so happy that it's one of these cars we've got here.
Actually, you know, I used to do the show runs from 08 to 12. This 2012, I did the show runs still with the V10 engine in the RB1.
Yeah.
And actually, most of the guys on the crew running the show car are still the same.
Still there,
it was
brilliant.
funny when I saw them before, and it's a great car for a show run. You know, it just showcases the car from close. Most people, they just see those cars from TV. They know them from TV. But when you see them in front of you, the speed, the sound, and everything, it's just different, you know. But that's mostly with things that you see on TV. It doesn't come over. You can't see the speed. You can't hear the sound.
No.
You cannot relate to it so much.
It's very, as you say, it's difficult to relate to over the monitor, but we have seen, and Neil, actually, you're a great person to speak to about this. We have seen, as Sebastian Buemi, I think we're going to see some donuts now.
Yeah, it's a lot of space there. The thing is, here he cannot burn through the tires so easy as on the NASCAR, though.
But going back to what I was saying, you know, there's so much for us to talk about in the way that Formula One has moved on over the years. I mean, we talked about the V10 engines. Before that, I mean, we had screaming V12 engines with
Ferraris, especially,
you know,
famous for that.
with dog boxes, effectively, you know, semi-sequential gearboxes, and the sport has moved on so much now, particularly with the aerodynamics.
You can see, just maybe to change subject, on the back straight, he's going slowly upshifts a lot. It's just to cool down the engine. Then he comes to the front stretch again, where all the people are, and then he can do the.
And then
he can rev it again, and on the back straight again. Quick short shifts just to cool the engine. He's doing donuts, and at this heat outside here, obviously for these highly technical machines, they're meant to go straight.
Yeah, the
as quickly as
tolerances,
possible.
The tolerances are so fine in them. And of course, when you are going round and round and you're pulling sort of 14, 15, 16, 17,000 revs per minute, you're not getting any airflow through the car, so it does get very hot. And the radiators are just sat either side, basically, of where Sebastian Buemi is sat. And
side pods, yeah.
Yeah, and they're just the radiators. That's right. They're just sat in the little side pods there, and when there's no air flowing through them, they get hot.
Well, he just got the checkered flag, and now it does a little. And you'll see the guys that just, as soon as he stops doing the donuts, coming with the sand. But yeah, oh, there's a lot of rubber on the ground. We can see that. Huh?
What a fantastic thing we are witnessing here at Red Bull Race Day. Sebastian Buemi is not holding back, is he? He's having a go. I think as well, perhaps he saw the show that Patrick Freestyle put on a moment ago in the NASCAR and said, right, well, I've got a little bit to live up to. And he gives the fans, there you go. Actually, you can see the guys there just
they have to,
and cooling it down.
In case there's a fire, they're just already going the engine with the fire extinguisher.
And you can see
on water basis.
You can see the guys just blowing cold air down into the side pods as well to cool it down. But fantastic that car, such a special car, is is still running and still doing shows like that, Neil.
I think it's important. It's part of Red Bull's history.
Absolutely.
And I mean, look at other big car manufacturers. They all have museums and they run their classic cars out, and people love to see it. And same for Red Bull. They have an amazing history already now in racing in a very short time. And it's just, yeah, it's a must to bring those cars back out.
Totally. Long may it continue, because, it's great to see the modern cars running, but there's so much passion in some of the older stuff. Sebastian Buemi gets out and waves to the fans. We look back at some of the best shots here. You see one of the spectators with his fingers well and truly in his ears. Believe me, it is incredibly loud, but it's a good loud.
Yeah. So, engineered sound, I would call it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We actually once did a show run up to the highest motorable road in the world. So I drove the Red Bull Racing up to 5,500 altitude meters. I think that's like 15,000 feet.
Did you notice any kind of power loss then when you were up that high?
Big time power loss and everything. And we had some cool stuff.
But it still ran?
Yeah, it ran.
Wow.
We were on the salt flats with the car. Then I think was David Coulthard who did one in the sand on the beach. So yeah, the cars, they can do a lot.
Well, that is it from Neil Janney and myself in commentary, and I have loved every single second of it. Thank you so much for joining me here, dude. I really, really appreciate it, and we really have had a fantastic day. It's been absolutely incredible. We've crammed into, 80 minutes, some of the most beautiful aircraft, some of the most spectacular freestyle motocross shows, some of the most spectacular drifting and NASCAR and everything else. So it has been an absolute pleasure, and I believe that Neil is down with Sebastian Buemi now.
Yeah, we totally saved the best till last, and getting out of the car with a massive smile on his face is Sebastian Buemi. First of all, talk us through that. The donuts here, you've burnt a lot of rubber, all the stuff you're not normally allowed to do on a racetrack.
Yeah, exactly. It's a special event, I think it's really cool for the fans, for the drivers as well. You get to do whatever you want with the car. And, a big airfield like that, lots of fans, it's an amazing feeling, especially because we are in Switzerland. I'm Swiss, and I don't get often the opportunity to race in front of my home crowd. So I really enjoyed it today.
It looked like you were enjoying it. And also, give us an idea of what it felt like to get back in a car like this, considering, Formula E, huge success in Le Mans. They're very different cars to this era of car.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Formula One car remains, the top category, the quickest cars we have on Earth. And clearly, as a driver, it's what you love to drive, the quickest car ever possible. So I really enjoyed it. You get to accelerate like this in front of those people, very close to them. It feels like it feels quite quick, and it's a nice nice feeling.
It was certainly quite quick. We were standing very close, and you kind of go, is this okay? Because it was so loud and so fast, but I guess you were in control.
Yeah, of course. No, you need to keep enough margin. You know, if something happens, you know, you have to take some margin. But still, it's quite cool to get to experiment those cars.
Very good. Now, you back to the important business. Next season for you, what preparations are you under for your next season?
So, you know, Formula E is going to restart in November, so we have a bit of time to go through testing and the preparation. And the WEC, the World Endurance Championship, including 24 Hours of Le Mans, is restarting in September. So not so long to wait. We've had some testing already, and the first race is in Silverstone on September the 1st.
Well, it was great to see you entertaining the Swiss fans here. Thank you very much, Sebastian Buemi. And thanks very much to you for watching. What an incredible day. Let's go over here, just checking that it's safe. This is actual rubber laid down by that Formula One car, probably mixed in with a NASCAR and a drift car and many other cars we've seen. I'm going to keep that as a souvenir. Thank you very much to Mike Chen, Neil and Raymond up in the commentary booth. Thanks for the whole crew. Hopefully we'll see you again on another Red Bull race day. But for now, this is Neil Cole signing out.